Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to Life in Motion. I'm your host, Grace Becker, and I am so happy to have you all here with me today. Happy Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday or whatever day of the week you are listening to this episode. Well, as those of you who can see or who are watching this, I changed my hair. I initially wanted to dye it back in January 2025. I wanted to dye it chocolate brown, but then and then it ended up coming out more of a dark red. So, but it looked good, so I just rocked it and I kept it. And Jaden and I are going on a trip soon, and my hair is also my roots were just starting to show too. And so I was like, there is no better time than now to get my hair colored again. And so I did. I went in. My girl Darby did me good. She did me so good. It looks black on the screen, I think, and in person sometimes it looks black, but is chocolate brown. But depending, I'm a part of the new brown black hair community now, because there are girls out there who are like, my hair is brown, dark brown, but people are like, no, it's black. And then the girls with black hair like, yeah, it's black, not dark brown. I don't give a shit. Whatever you think it looks like, fine. I will say right now, I feel like I'm giving black cat energy because I'm wearing all black and my hair is black. I feel like a dark feminine goddess right now. So yeah, that's what's new with me, is that. Other things that are new, Jaden and I we're developing further into getting our home, which I'm really excited about. We close on the house August 6th, which is coming up soon. I'm recording this on July 25th, so it'll be coming up soon that we're going to be moving into the house. And then not only, but 2 days later, after moving into the house, we are catching flights to Europe. And I'm so excited. This time is currently just a little stressful because that's a quick turnaround. Moving is a pain. It is a bitch. And I know there are people out there who can understand and relate to me. I am excited not to move for a few years. So Jaden, if you're listening, let's not move for at least 3 years. Thank you. But today I actually wanted to talk a little bit about my trip. I have gotten a lot of people in my life who also listen to this podcast ask me about my trip, because that's where they heard it from, was listening to my podcast. And so I was just going to talk about it. I thought that would be a fun episode. So today, the episode, as you can tell by the title, is Catching Flights and Feelings, because I'm going with my man who I have feelings for, and we're catching flights all over Europe. So the places that we're going, and this is not in any particular order, but we're going to Paris, we're going to Berlin, Amsterdam, Rome, Prague, and Barcelona. And I am so excited. We have 6 different cities, and we have about a month to explore all of them. When Jaden and I were originally planning out this trip, we were debating if we wanted to go for like a week and a half, 2 weeks to just one location and spend a lot of time in that city, or if we wanted to make it a longer trip and explore multiple cities. Because, when you go to so many different places, I don't want to just have 2 days in each city. I want at least 3 full days in each place. And Jaden and I have about 3 to 4, depending on how far we have to travel to get to the next place. But we have about 3 to 4 days in each place. And I'm so excited. We're going to be gone for officially about 3 weeks, but it's almost a month. And the vibe of this trip is going to be a mix of culture and relaxation and adventure. I have gone on trips where it's been just for adventure. For example, I love backpacking and I love hiking. However, uh, there's, I guess you could say, some culture with that, but that's more for my adventure side. And like, I love being outdoors and I love being out in the wilderness. Everyone in my life says I'm such a girly girl, except for when it comes to backpacking, because you literally have to shit, piss in the woods, sleep out there. And I've gone for like 6 days at a time and you don't get a shower, nothing. So I am a girly girl everywhere except for when I'm backpacking. But with a trip like this, I feel like you can't not go to all of these cities and not experience culture. You know? You know what I'm saying? But it's mostly going to be a mixture of culture and adventure. I want to say some relaxation here and there. However, this trip to me doesn't exactly scream relaxation. A relaxation trip to me is going to somewhere tropical, lying on a beach, drinking fun little cocktails out on the beach. And that's not really going to be the vibe for this one. It's going to be a lot of walking, a lot of sightseeing, and we're not tourists. We're not tourists. We are travelers. I hate tourists. I hate that because the stereotype comes with tourists, you know, like it's the fanny pack and it's the camera, shopping at all these little knick-knack shops. And no, I don't want to stick out like that. I know there's, you know, it's inevitable that I'm going to stick out in some ways because, you know, I know I'm American, and some people have told me to tell people in Europe that I'm Canadian, especially with the way things have been going in our world recently, which I might do depending on the city that we're in. Like, I know Paris sometimes can get sketchy vibes when it comes to like people interacting with you sketchy. People might not like Americans, so I might pick and choose who I tell where we are from. But I know it's going to be obvious because, for one, we don't speak the language, and two, we have accents, three, maybe our fashion will stick out. I know that in planning for this trip, when we were first trying to pick destinations and our route, we had no idea what we wanted to do. I have some people in my life who have gone overseas a lot and talked about different areas they've traveled and how they took like planes in between cities because it's really cheap or it's inexpensive that once you get to Europe that the flights are low cost. I've heard people say that they take trains in between different cities. So when Jaden and I were trying to pick the places we wanted to go, we were saying, okay, well, what are some of our hot ticket items? Where are places that we've dreamed about going? For sure, Italy. For sure, Greece. I've always wanted to go to Germany. Jaden has some family in Prague, so he's talked about wanting to go visit them. I talked about Switzerland because I have some family friends who live there. We've talked about Paris, all sorts of these, you know, ticket places. And then from there, we just kind of drew out a map of what makes the most sense for our route. And so, for example, like Greece was kind of way out there compared to some of these other cities, or Switzerland. So we decided to save those for another trip sometime. And then that's kind of how we picked our route. As far as how we decided for getting in between cities, we planned this trip, by the way, 100% on our own. I did some research on YouTube, TikTok, talked to people I know, but we didn't have any traveling agency, any travel planner help us of any sort. And it was stressful. It was really stressful trying to figure out like what train to use, what bus route to use, you know, what airport should we fly in, and where should we stay when we're in the city. That was really overwhelming and it required a lot of research. However, we saved so much money doing it ourselves, and that was a priority for Jaden and I. We didn't want to spend thousands of dollars to have someone plan it for us. We would have much rather taken on some stress to plan it ourselves. So that's exactly what we did. And depending on the city that we're going to, so say we start in Paris and we're trying to go to Amsterdam, we picked either a flight in between cities or a train in between cities, depending on the cost and time. I know that when we were looking at, I can't remember exactly which city to which city it was, but a train ride was, I think, like 22, 24 hours long versus a plane ride that was, I think, like 3-4 hours long. And it was, I can't remember if it was a little bit extra. I think it was maybe like $50 to $100 extra per person to take a plane versus a train. However, that's a whole day, of a trip. So we decided to get plane tickets instead of a train ticket. Maybe we took a train if it was maybe an overnight train, or we would get to see some of the backcountry. That was one recommendation that a lot of people in my life were saying, is that depending on where you're traveling to, you might want to take a train because you'll get to see some more of the countryside of these cities. I've always wanted to go to southern France and see more of the countryside. So we're taking a train from there to our next city just because we get to see more of, of that side of the country. So I'm really excited for the traveling. I know it's going to be overwhelming. When we were deciding on how to pack and what to bring with us, and I'll share my my packing list with you guys, some of those essentials that I did research on what to bring. But we were debating whether or not to bring a checked bag. And at first I was really set on, no, I need a checked bag, not only for things that I'm bringing with me, like skincare, makeup, clothes, shoes, whatever, but I wanted that extra space for all the things I wanted to bring back to the States with me. And I was really set on that. However, one, it was so expensive to do it. Jaden is in the military, so he typically gets one free checked bag. However, because it's an overseas flight, it is not a guarantee everywhere we traveled to, which I think, I'm like, why? Why is that the case? But understandable, I guess. It's like, you're not a soldier for our country, so we don't care, which makes sense. So we decided against the checked bag, one, because of the cost. We would have to pay so much, out of pocket to get a checked bag. And two, we are going to airports that are massive, that we have never been to before, where people speak different languages than us. A lot of people in my life have told me that the places that we are going to, most of those airports are going to have signs in English. However, you just can't always guarantee, especially when we have connecting flights. I know our first flight we're flying into Paris, is from Minneapolis to Iceland to Paris, and our connecting flight in Iceland to Paris is a really quick turnover. I think we have, last time I checked, I think we have maybe an hour from when we land to get to our next gate. And that is so overwhelming. Oh my goodness. Just thinking about it is kind of stressful. So it's just going to be so nice not having to wait around in a luggage claim to get our checked bag and then rush to our next gate in a unknown territory. So, at first I was hesitant and didn't love the idea, but it's grown on me and I really think that's going to be the best for us. So that's kind of how we went around booking our transportation. And as far as accommodations and lodging, we debated between hotels, hostels, Airbnbs, all the things that you can think of. And one of the first ones that we ruled out was hostels. I don't know if any of you have ever stayed at hostels, but typically what it is, it can be segregated by gender. So you could have a hostel where it's the male side, the female side, and you live in almost like a little mini like bunk bed dorm situation with a bunch of other people. It could be 6 people, it could be 12 people, it just depends on the layout. And so sometimes it's separated by gender, sometimes you can book it where it's, you know, it's co-ed. And I was nervous for that because I don't love the idea of sleeping in a room with complete strangers. And also, I don't love the idea of leaving my stuff in a room unattended while Jaden and I are out exploring during the day. And I've stayed in hostels before. I've stayed in them when I was in Ireland. However, that was for a study abroad trip, and I was with people I knew. So I felt more secure leaving my things unattended because, well, I'm traveling with people I know. And I know that some hostels offer a locked trunk or a locker that you can put a lock on for all of your stuff. However, someone could easily break into that. And I feel like I would struggle to sleep knowing that there's a complete stranger above me in my bunk or right across from me in the room. And who knows what people do in their sleep, and you just never know who you're around. So that was one of the first ones to go for me. I just did not trust it. And Jaden agreed with me on that. The second option that we were considering was hotels, which would have been a good option. However, they can be really, really expensive. Jaden and I have tried to find hotels and lodging that was more towards the places that we're looking to visit and to explore, because we don't want to do, if we can save ourselves like 1,000 steps, we're going to do it. Or if we can save ourselves some bus fare or cab fare or whatever the case may be, we're going to try to do that. But a lot of the hotels, because we were looking for places that are more popular for travelers, they were just so expensive. And we're trying to do this on a budget the best that we can, while also trying to prioritize safety. So ultimately, we went with Airbnbs. And we went with Airbnbs because of a few things. One, like, we booked Airbnbs where we can either have a locked room within a house that's shared with other people, or that is just like our own apartment, house, whatever that we rented. So for that one, like, safety, to be able to lock it. And 2, to also have people who host the Airbnbs tend to also give you recommendations on places to go. They're also really friendly and people that you can chat with if you have questions. And it just was also, and it was also really, it was inexpensive compared to some of our other options. So Airbnbs just really were the best fit for us when we were looking to book. So if any of you out there are looking to plan a trip and you want to save some money, but it's also important for you to have safety and to maybe have some of those other things and accommodations, I recommend Airbnbs. I know that one that I'm really looking forward to is our one in Rome, because it is, from what I read and what I remember, it's kind of like almost like a huge or mini hotel where people have their own rooms that are locked, but then the community areas are so beautiful. Like, they have outdoor patios with sculptures and statues lining and vines and plants just, groping the wall. Oh my gosh, my ability to speak today and to come up with vocabulary is rough. So please bear with me, and I apologize in advance. But that's one I'm really excited for. It just looks beautiful. I mean, it's Rome. It's Rome, y'all. So that's what we did. As far as how far in advance we planned this trip, we have been planning pretty consistently for the past, few months, as far as places we want to go, places we want to see while we're in the city. But when it came to looking at flights and when it came to getting our Airbnbs and everything, I would say we started around January, like late December, mid-January is when we started looking at all of those things. We first looked at flights, then we looked at transportation in between cities, because those were two of those were the most unpredictable things that we wanted to make sure we had figured out first. And then from there, we booked our lodging. So if you're looking to book a trip on your own, that's how I would recommend doing it. First, figure out what cities you want to go to, your flights for when you want to land and then depart, and then figure out transportation in between the cities you want to go to. And then you can figure out your lodging, because it would be a real headache if, it's better for you to leave on Friday versus Saturday, but you already booked your Airbnb until Saturday, so now you have to call them and cancel it to see if you can leave Friday. It just would be a huge headache to do it that way. So that's how I recommend doing it. As far as tools that I use to plan the trip, we used different apps like Priceline to get flights. We looked at Delta, we looked at United, we looked at Iceland Air, just looked at all sorts of different traveling like airlines that worked with us that also included some of those safety features. We used YouTube. ChatGPT helped us a lot, in all honesty, if I'm being honest. It was really helpful in getting a start on how to even go about planning a trip like this. We didn't even know how to begin, where to begin. So it was honestly pretty helpful to have AI's help. And then just from there, we would just, put stuff in the search engine and go from there. I know that some of the apps we plan to use while we're there are different bus and train apps for each city. So depending where you plan on traveling to, I recommend just looking at what is the common community transport, public transportation that they use, and do they have an app for it? Is it free? Do you need to buy a card? Do you need to buy tokens? What do you need to do? We're going to use Google Translate. We try learning some common phrases in the languages of the places we're going to. However, we kind of fell behind on that. So maybe on our plane ride, we will pick up some of those things. But Google Translate, I think, will honestly save us. So those are some of the ways that we used, some of the things we used to plan our trips. As far as budgeting, we approached it in the sense of, okay, how much are we willing to spend for flights, transportation, and lodging, and then how much money do we want to have for food and for our sightseeing, and then how much money do we want for knickknacks or like those souvenirs that you want to take home with you. And for me, when it comes to souvenirs, I'm not so much of let me go buy this shot glass. I want the jewelry. I want the fashion. I want those quality pieces that fit me when I come back home, and I can be like, oh yeah, this necklace, this is from Paris, and it's a pearl that I got. When I was in Ireland, I bought a necklace that had an Irish pearl on it, and I get comments and compliments on it all the time. So those are kind of the pieces that I look for when I'm traveling. But yeah, just ask yourself, okay, what am I wanting to spend? I know Jaden and I, I should have looked at this beforehand. I want to say we spent around maybe like $3,000 each when it came to just the lodging, transportation aspect of things. And then I think we're bringing around $2,000 to $3,000 each for spending money when we are actually there. So just ask yourself what's important to you. Like I know Jane and I wanted at least one night while we were there that was more fancy dinner. When we first land into Paris, I think that night, because we get there in the afternoon, but that night we reserved a dinner on the Eiffel Tower, where your ticket gets you on the Eiffel Tower, but also gets you a 3 or 4 course meal at a restaurant on the Eiffel Tower. On the Eiffel Tower. Ah, y'all, I cannot wait. I'm so excited. As far as how I like packed and what gear I was thinking to bring, a lot of people say to backpack through Europe, and I don't know if I'm going to regret this. I will let you all know, but I was just going to bring a carry-on suitcase and then a backpack as my personal item for traveling. However, I know a lot of people say to backpack through it, and I do have a backpacking pack. However, I just don't think it would be convenient for all the things I want to bring with me. And there's been times when I've brought my pack with me on flights and I've had to check it. And I just don't want to do that because of the reasons I said before. So that's how I'm doing it. I'll let y'all know if I regret that or not. As far as things that are must-haves for me, I can, if people are interested, I can upload a PDF on my resources down below for the things I'm bringing, but obviously bringing passports, wallet, travel insurance documents, phones, chargers, all those essentials with me. And huge tip, y'all, when you travel across seas, do not leave your passport in your hotel or in your Airbnb, your hostel, whatever. Get a, gosh, what are they called? It's kind of like a fanny pack, but it's more lightweight and more seamless. And put your passport in there, put some money in there, put whatever valuables you have in there, and just wear it under your clothes, because you do not want to risk someone maybe coming and stealing it or you losing it. Also, some places require your passport to get you access. I know that when Jade and I were when I was doing research, let's be honest, for going to see the Sistine Chapel, we have to have our passport to get in there. So that's another reason to keep it on you in case you might need it to get access to some place. But, use common sense, don't just be, if some stranger comes up to you and is like, give me your passport, let me see your passport to make sure that you have a reason to be here. I wouldn't trust that, but we are bringing it for safety purposes, not to lose it, and for to get into places. As far as other things that a lot of people have recommended, a lot of people recommended a fan, which I did buy because we're going to Europe in August and they don't have AC. Kill me now. And things for me now, because it's going to be hot and I'm a hot body. So I got one of those. What else did I bring? A portable charger. I'm bringing a steamer because I am vacuuming, what's that word called? Vacuuming, sealing, sucking all the air out of my clothes. I got vacuum bags. So I'm bringing a steamer to steam out those wrinkles. I am bringing my vlogging camera with me to vlog the journey. I'm bringing my toiletries with me, and all that good stuff. Also, fun little tip for all of you out there. I recommend bringing basics for clothes that you can style into different outfits. So bring 3 basic tops and 2 basic pants and then a jacket or 2. And you can style those outfits 3 different ways or 4 different ways. However, I also recommend you save room in your suitcase, because you're likely, if you're anything like me, going to buy clothes there that you will wear in Europe that you'll also want to take back with you. So save room for that, because you're probably going to be shopping for clothes that you'll want to wear there and bring back with you. So that's a little sneak peek on some of the gear and things that I am bringing with me. If you have, more questions or more interest in that, I will probably link my packing list down below. Other than that, I'm trying to think of any of those other technicalities. As far as places that I'm looking forward to visiting, I would say my top places I'm looking to visit is one, Prague. I have heard from a lot of people that that's kind of a hidden treasure of like cities in Europe. You know, I think a lot of people, oh, Greece or Capri, Italy, or I want to go to Paris. You know, those are the more showstopper places. And I've heard a lot of people say Prague is kind of a hidden gem. So I'm excited to see what that's all about. So that's one of the places I'm especially looking forward to. And I am also especially looking forward to Rome. I've always wanted to go to Italy, and I just, it's going to be beautiful. The food's going to taste good. The wine's going to taste good. And it's just going to be an amazing trip. I know it is. So those are two of the places I'm most excited I'm looking forward to go to. But yeah, I do plan on vlogging the journey, and I'm thinking I'm going to also be making TikToks about that. So if you want to follow along with Jaden and I's traveling journey, you can go follow my personal TikTok account, which is just like Grace Becker. And I can link it down below as well. If you do want to go follow that in the show notes, I'll have it down there. But yeah, that's the trip, and I'm super excited for this journey. I definitely feel privileged and very grateful that I have the opportunity to do this. You know, it is a privilege to be able to travel, not only because I have the means to do it, but I am abled. I have the right mindset, the right, you know, like I'm physically able to travel. And yeah, I just am never going to get an experience like this again. So I am very grateful that I get to do this with the love of my life, Jaden. And yeah, we're catching flights and feelings, y'all. So definitely follow along for more on that journey. But I'm going to have the shareable checklist down below. Thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode. I hope that you got to enjoy it. And if you did, please leave me 5 stars down below and a review. Share with people in your life. Share with anyone who's maybe planning to go to Europe anytime soon. Shout out to my editor, Ben. Thanks for all of your help, especially as we're trying to get these episodes ready before I leave for Europe. And we're building up a bank and editing a lot. So thank you so much, Ben, for all of that. I'm going to have all my socials and my email linked down below. But yeah, you can listen to this podcast every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to stay tuned in to hear more about Life in Motion. But until next week, embrace the chaos and find the beauty. Bye.